We'll be going over the basics of Acorn's shape tools. You can see in the tools palette that there is the Bezier, line, rectangle, oval, star, and arrow shape tools. For the purposes of this tutorial, we'll be working with the star and rectangle shape tools. By clicking on one of the shape tools, you will load the shape options in the inspector palette. You can see that there are various options for fill, stroke, angle, as well as other values that you can modify. To begin drawing your shape, click and drag on the canvas, and you can begin playing around with the various options. So right now, this shape has a dark blue stroke and a light blue fill. We can check or uncheck the fill box to add or remove the fill, and same thing with the stroke. You can also modify the stroke value with the slider. Now, let's draw out a rectangle. To move our shape around on the canvas, let's select the Move tool and click and drag on the shape to place it where you want it. You can also modify the height or the width of the shape using the Move tool by clicking and dragging on a boundary of the shape. To have the rectangle size in perfect proportions, hold down the Shift key while clicking and dragging. You can see that you can also modify the X and Y coordinates in the inspector palette, as well as the width and height. The star shape is different from other shapes in that you have an on-canvas control to change its internal radius, as well as the number of star points. Just click and drag on the on-canvas controls with the Move tool to adjust these parameters. The star shape also has an on-canvas control, which you can click and drag to rotate the shape. To rotate the rectangle shape, you can hover over a corner of the shape and rotating arrows will appear. You can then click and drag on the canvas to achieve the rotation you want, or you can modify the angle over in the inspector palette. If you want to change the color of your stroke, make sure your shape is selected, then go over to the outer color well in the Tools palette. Click on it to select it, and the Colors palette will appear. From there, you can choose your color. To change the color of the fill, use the inner color well, and again, pick your color from the Colors palette. Additional options in the Inspector palette include settings for the line join style, and the different path operations such as union, intersect, difference, and exclude. There are also shape alignment functions. To use a path operation, you must have 2 or more shapes selected, and they should be overlapping. So we're going to use the Move tool to put our square shape on top of our star. We'll use Command A to select both shapes, and then click on the Exclude operation. You can see that we punched a square shape inside the star shape. You can also give your shape a drop shadow. Click on the Shape Shadow option in the Inspector palette. You can modify the color by clicking on the color well. You can also modify the transparency here. There's also a blur slider and a widget to control the shape shadow's position. That concludes our introduction to Acorn's shape tools. Be sure to also check out Acorn's other video and written documentation for further information on working with shapes in Acorn.